Hello everyone, today I want to talk about what if Dark Souls was a true open world game. And before we get going, if you hear the occasional mooing, there is a rogue cow in the field behind me and she will not shut up. So we're going to have to deal with it, but we shall press on. Now for some reason, a big thing in today's modern games is the fact that they are open world. Now personally, I don't really like open world games, but that's because of how they are done. An open world game can be glorious and it could look absolutely stunning, but if the activities that we partake in are just boring and demeaning, then I don't give a flying F about how pretty your world is. A good example is the Assassin's Creed series and the Far Cry series. One of the big things in those open worlds is climbing a tower to reveal more of the map. Now, as much as I like these games, this is just really a demeaning task that is just there to showcase, whoa, we really do have a big open world here. Well, yeah, you might have a big open world, but there's fuck all to do in it. Now, another thing is, recently, Horizon Zero Dawn, I really do like that game, but I just can't finish it just because the open world just felt so bland and boring. And again, it suffered with the same demeaning, meaningless tasks that are plagued in today's modern open world games. Hey, you should go and kill this bandit camp. Well, after the 15th time, then I think I'll pass and go do something else. So for those waiting for the Horizon Zero Dawn, buy beware, there it is. Robots are cool, 10 out of 10. A good example of an open world game for me personally is The Witcher 3. Aesthetically, it looks absolutely gorgeous, and there's actually a lot to do in that game. Monster hunting, various side quests that actually have some depth and thought behind them. Now this obviously made me think of Dark Souls. What if Dark Souls was a true open world game? Now a lot of people say Dark Souls 1 is an open world game, but I tend to disagree on that. It's kind of an open world game. Yes, we are given choice, but after we have made that choice, we are then shooed down a linear path, which is absolutely fine. I love that about Dark Souls. The fact that we have that initial choice is what makes this game stand out from the rest. The infamous graveyard scene, which ended a lot of new players' playthrough there and then.
Oh Jesus! Oh Jesus! Jesus! Oh fucking Jesus!
But I'm speaking about what if we had a true open world Dark Souls game. One where we are plopped in the middle and we are free to do whatever we want. Now, I don't think it would work. Now, hear me out. When I say I don't think it would work, I mean if we take the current Dark Souls formula and just plop it into an open world, I don't think it would work there. Maybe with some refinement, Dark Souls can be an open world game, but do we want that? I could see people with strong arguments both for and against it. Yes, there would be some super cool things you could do, maybe random world bosses, random loot, but when we're talking about this, we're kind of taking away the essence of Dark Souls. It's becoming its own completely different thing then. It's no longer Dark Souls, it's a different game. But moving on to why I dislike some open world games, and why I think Dark Souls with From Software might not be the best option. Dark Souls 2. Now you guys know I do love Dark Souls 2, but the detail in the world is kind of not good. Now, a big reason why I like linear games is because they can cram in a bunch of detail into a small environment and make it feel alive and busy and authentic. Just look at Bloodborne, look at how much detail is in the environments in that game, because they could spend time working with that environment, making it exactly how they want it to look. Now, as we move forward with technology and these open world games are getting more and more detailed, I'll bring up The Witcher 3 again, just look how detailed The Witcher 3 is, and Horizon Zero Dawn to some extent. It is a very good looking game with a lot of detail crammed into it. But then we look at Dark Souls and we look at Dark Souls 2, that is a linear game, and the amount of detail in that world, the amount of things happening in that world is not very impressive to say the least. And this, I remind you, is a linear game where linear games are supposed to have this immense amount of intricate detail, making environments come alive. But looking to Bloodborne, look at Bloodborne. Could you imagine Bloodborne, I'm gonna keep saying Bloodborne, on a scale of an open world game? Now, I'm throwing open world games around like it's some kind of trophy, But just because a game has the title of an open world game doesn't make it automatically a good game, and people for some reason use an open world game as a selling point. And to me, having an open world game isn't a selling point. In fact, I'm going to be more anxious if your game is a open world game, and this is because of the stigma that I feel open world games have fallen into, which I mentioned earlier with the random tasks that no one cares about, and they are just so boring. The Assassin's Creed side quests, and even some of the main quests, are just you following around an NPC. Far Cry, it's you climbing a tower or eliminating a bandit camp. These are just trying to squeeze as much game time out of a bland, boring, lifeless open world as possible. If you need an excuse for your game to be open world, don't make your world full of repeatable side quests that the player doesn't give a flying shit about. Fallout 4 is a prime example. Repeatable side quests that are the same over and over again. But moving back on to Dark Souls, yes, I think with some refinement it could work and maybe even be one of the best open world games. So let's talk about how it would work. We've talked about some aspects that it might not work so well in, but what about the positive side? Well, freedom of choice is a big thing in Dark Souls games, and they have been criticised recently as the games have gone on for giving the player less choice. In Dark Souls 3, we don't have a single choice until later in the game when we are given an option to kill optional bosses. That was really hard to say. But initially we have no choice whatsoever. We sit down at the bonfire and we are thrust into the High Wall of Lothric. Dark Souls 2, we had a fairly similar thing. We were given a chance to go to the Forest of Fallen Giants, or we could go straight into Hyde's Tower of Flame. That was good. I like it. Dark Souls 1 rests as the truest as possible to open world. Is that even an expression? I don't think so. Where we are given a choice to go either, oh god, now let me remember, we can go to the Catacombs, New Londo, Undead Burg, the list goes on, I think. I can't remember, it's been so long. But Dark Souls in a open world scenario, I feel would give the player a lot of choice. I can picture it now, we are plopped down in the middle of a forsaken land, and we can go anywhere we want, and we can only progress if one, we are higher level enough or are skilled enough, and we have to figure out where to go on our own. There's no stupid mini-map markers and stuff that are again plagued today. Giving the player back a sense of achievement and wonder is what Dark Souls is all about. No hand-holding, not telling us where to go, we figure that out on our own, and I feel that would be a massive, massive good aspect in a Dark Souls open world game. Dark Souls is about having this intricate, closed off world that you can feel a connection to, and I don't find that in open world games for me personally. So my question is to you guys, 1, would you like to see Dark Souls in a true open world game? And 2, if so, how would you go about doing that? I'm actually really curious to know. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I've done some of these videos in the past where we just talk about a certain aspect of Dark Souls and try and start a discussion about it, and I want to get back into it, so I think for the next couple of videos at least we're going to be talking about random aspects of Dark Souls, the what ifs and the hoo-has and the whatnot. Anyway, as always, you guys can follow me on Twitter to stay up to date with me and the channel. Take care everyone, be good to one another, and I'll see you next time.